Hey guys, welcome to XOXO, Friends, Flings, and Relationship Things. We're doing this series at church that's really all about relationships, and in our small groups, that's what we're going to be talking about for the next 5 weeks. So we're really excited. I think at the core for all of us of life is relationships. It's all about relationships, whether it's marriage relationships or dating relationships or friendships or relationships with coworkers. All through life, you're going to be dealing with different kinds of relationships. And relationships are an unbelievable gift, but relationships can also be quite difficult. And relationships are difficult because they're always made up of at least two people. And those two people tend to always be sinners. They're imperfect people. And so we're going to be talking some about that. I thought it'd be a lot of fun in our small groups if I had some friends come in and kind of help us talk a little bit about relationships. So I'm going to ask them to kind of go around the table and introduce themselves. Lulu, I'm going to start with you guys.
Hi, I'm Lulu.
And I'm Jake. We've been married for 6 months.
6 months this Sunday.
6 months this Sunday. You knew it was 6 months Sunday, right?
I have to. It's too early for me not to.
That's right. That's right. All right, Danielle.
I am Danielle, and I'm not married.
All right. Awesome.
I'm Steven, and I'm also not married.
Fantastic.
I'm Rhodes, and I've been married a long, long time. 15 plus years the second time.
And I'm Paige. I'm married to Rhodes.
Awesome. And you guys have how many kids?
4.
4 kids. And you guys don't have any kids?
No, not yet.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. So we got newlyweds, we got a couple singles, we got you guys in your second marriage with 4 kids, been married for a while. So we got a good variety here, which I think will be a lot of fun. So there's a verse that we talked about in the message this week, Genesis chapter 2. And it says this, that's why a man leaves his father and mother and is united to his wife, and the two become one flesh. And the part I thought would be fun for us to kind of talk a little bit about, and we discussed this a little bit in the message on Sunday, but it's this idea that we leave father and mother. And that's a lot more detailed than just this idea that we leave the house. It certainly doesn't mean we cut off ties with our mother and father, but the concept behind that verse was that we leave behind our old way of life. And when you enter into a relationship, all of a sudden you kind of have to, up to that point, it could be all about kind of just yourself and your own desires, your own patterns. I think we all bring baggage, or we bring patterns into our relationships. And so I would love to hear you guys talk a little bit about what that looks like in a marriage, what that looks like in dating, when you bring old patterns, old way of thoughts, expectations into that relationship. Give me some examples of what that looks like for you guys.
I think for me, the first thing that comes to mind definitely is spending patterns with money. Yeah, because I think I'm very used to, I'm a pretty independent person, and it's like, I want to get this, I'm going to do that. I want to go here, I'm going to go there. And I love Jake to death, and I think one of the hardest things when we first got married was just like, wait, I can't just go shopping without saying anything because we have things to think about. Or, hey, my friend's having her birthday party. I want to go to New York. I'm going to go. I can't just do that. You can't just buy a plane ticket without talking to him. And it felt, I think in that sense, it felt like a loss of independence, you know? Like I'm a grown woman. I'm not that I'm asking you for permission, but we also have to collaborate and agree on this. And that was a hard thing to kind of put in place, especially the first couple of months, as you know.
I was going to say 6 months into it, I'm sure there's still a lot that you guys are working through of stuff that you've brought into the marriage you might not even know about yet.
Right.
There's probably a whole lot of that. We tried to do a lot of stuff on the front end to alleviate that as much as possible. I mean, we did the counseling, and we did financial peace, and we read a ton of books, relationship books together, and we did a lot of things to sort of prepare, because I think that's where a lot of people sort of mess up or go wrong, is they go into marriage thinking, let's do this, and you don't just run into a marathon saying, I'm going to run a marathon. Like you prep for that type of thing. And so we tried to do some prep work on the front end.
That's good. Danielle, Steven, like in the context of dating, do you guys see this pretty early on in a dating relationship, how you kind of bring in one way of thinking and they have another way of thinking?
Yeah, so do you want to go?
Sure. Yeah. I think that, at least for me, especially since I got really involved in my faith, like I have wrapped my mind around this idea that you don't try to change people, and either it works or it doesn't. And I've just kind of realized, I've been seeing someone for about 5 months now, and it's like, it's not about changing the other person. It's about growing and learning about each other, and not thinking that this person that you're with is going to do the same things that the people you've been with in the past have done. And there's also that side of thinking, well, why would you make sacrifices for another person when you're not married? But it's like, you don't ever get to that point in a relationship unless you open up and you kind of do that. So it's finding the balance, being single, between, giving a relationship too much and not giving yourself enough, versus, being too closed off and too independent and too unwilling to let another person, kind of work their way into being a unit with you,
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. How about you, Steve? You carry much baggage into your relationships?
I would say so, yeah, especially over the past 24 years.
Yeah.
The biggest thing for me, especially getting into college and becoming an adult and realizing that I have more responsibilities, I always think of kind of like the whole triangle theory. You have a man and you have a woman, and for me it was never about going up to meet Christ at the center. It was never Christ centered, and so it was always having the woman on top of the triangle, and then Christ on the other side, to where I was working towards pleasing her and giving her everything that she wanted, and then a relationship surrounding Christ would just happen. And so that ended up not working out, unfortunately. No, fortunately. What am I saying, unfortunately? And then
She's watching.
She's watching, that's right. It just it took a lot to learn that that's not the way it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
But there was a reason for that, and that was a huge season of growth, and I'm a better man for it. So.
Yeah. Rhodes and Paige, I'm really interested in this question for you guys, because not only were you coming in with kind of your thoughts, opinions, desires from your life, but you've both been married before, so I'm sure there were some different expectations you had from that as well. So what does that look like for you guys, kind of in your marriage and your relationship? How have you worked through kind of some of those self-centered desires?
Well, we both brought exes and children into our relationship. And the baggage that seems most profound in my memory right now is I was a single dad with 3 kids. And I had this militant, not angry, but sometimes angry, but this process. I'm very organized, I'm very structured, I'm very precise, and so we ate the same thing for breakfast at the same time. I cut the pancakes the same way. I did everything.
Oh, it's very exciting.
It's the way we kind of survived it. And then when we got married, Paige is an artist. Paige is creative. Paige didn't understand why I liked to line the boxes up a certain way in the cabinets, and the can labels needed to be. And so
People are getting scared for me.
But it took a minute for me to understand that there might be a different way, maybe not a better way, but a different way to look at this and run our home.
Yeah. What was that like from your perspective, Paige?
I thought I always wanted more children, and I thought, well, when Callie and I, moved in with Rhodes and Christina and Tom and Caroline, we would be one big happy family, that they would just adore me. And the truth of it is, one in particular hated me and really resented, my presence there. And, moving into marriage is hard enough, but then moving in with the new, husband, but then also these children that you want to love and you do love, but you don't have that history with them from when they were born. And so it took a really long time for us as a family to come together. And I will say now, we've been married 15 years, I really feel like we are a family. But it certainly took a lot of work, and it wasn't anything that we just, eased into, and one day we were this Brady Bunch of a family.
Do you guys think it's important to, like, at some point in that relationship to state the expectations, whether they're right or wrong? Just say, here's what I've always thought. I mean,
100%. I can tell you that there was a period of time up until fairly recently where I never did that. Like, I just would go off of chemistry and hang out, and if you liked them, you liked them, and the next thing you know, you're 7, 8, 9, 10 months into a relationship, and then all of a sudden you start talking about things like where your faith is at and whether or not you want to have children, and where you see yourself living in 5 years. And I think I've learned, at least from the current situation that I'm in right now, having those conversations like within the first month, they're almost imperative, because then you don't spend time with someone that doesn't match up with your non-negotiables, And I think that when you have a strong faith, like, that has to be, something that the other person supports and has as well, or else it's just not gonna match up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think one of the themes already in this conversation is that there has to be a shift at some point. If it's going to be a healthy relationship, there has to be a shift from this relationship is all about me getting my needs met to trying to do my best to help meet the needs of the other person. And I think this is an important idea of in a healthy relationship. It's more about not getting what it is that I want, but giving what it is that I have. And when we can start to see marriages and dating relationships and friendships from a different perspective than just our self-centered perspective, it helps them run a lot smoother. So anyway, I'm really interested in you guys' group. Interested in what this conversation is going to be like for you guys. And so I hope that tonight in your group, you guys can just have a really honest conversation, regardless where you're at, on what kind of expectations, what kind of baggage do you bring into your relationships, and how do you deal with that? So I hope you guys have a great conversation tonight.